Welcome to another episode of Innovation Minutes Live. I am Dan Gonzalez, and I'm joined by my co-host, Anak Bari. Today, we are talking about how to beat Amazon at its own game.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Amazon originally selling books, it has now gone well beyond that and has really become a company that specializes in delivery logistics. And so anything that can benefit from that, they're in that industry. And so we see a lot of other companies kind of scrambling to touch on the kind of like we can expand beyond our immediate category and do everything as well. Like recently, Kroger announced that they're going to have their own fashion line. Which would you buy clothes at the
I mean, look,
why wouldn't you buy?
Honestly, having lived in Atlanta for a while, and specifically like downtown Atlanta, Kroger is kind of like the second tier grocery store. I don't know how it is in the rest of the United States,
Right.
where it is, but it's like the little bit, I don't know, scummier, not scummier, but like less,
It's not high-end grocery store.
less nice, right? And in an ironic kind of way, right? So young people like it and everything. But the point is that a clothing line from them is kind of a head scratcher, for sure.
So maybe we could say, well, if Whole Foods wanted to have a clothing line, or if they wanted to,
yeah, that would
like
be an easier thing to arrive to, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting too because you have Amazon emerging into the Australian market as well, and they previously weren't there. So there's a place that has still been very much in the head to the stores, go to the brick and the brick and mortar kind of retail experience is very much alive and well in Australia, and it'll be really interesting to see how Amazon's arrival this year just starts to disrupt that.
Yeah, and I think all of the retailers there face a Kroger problem, right? And the question then becomes, I think it's more of like an exercise in introspection, right? I think the retailers that are going to be disrupted, right? So right now, consumers over there behave in a certain way, but as soon as Amazon finally arrives, we'll see that quickly change in the next 6 to 9 months. But what the retailers need to really think about is what they do well and the value proposition they provide to their customers. And if it's solely that we provide groceries and we're the only grocery store here, that's not going to cut it, right?
Right. Well, I think it's interesting that Walmart acquired Jet.com, and I've used Jet.com, and I like them. There are times when, so if you compare it to Amazon, which always becomes the consumers, or at least a consumer like me,
right,
who pretty much orders everything, I might be looking for a specific thing, and if it comes up on Amazon and Jet.com, if it's cheaper on Jet.com, maybe I'll purchase it. But often there's kind of a minimum order for a free delivery, which is increasing less the issue on Amazon. So they really, again, they dominate so much on the delivery mechanism that even if the items are even slightly more expensive, it becomes the better experience. But Jet.com is innovating in ways that Amazon hasn't been as of yet, where if you purchase without the ability to return it, or with a debit card, in both cases, you get a slight discount. The more you purchase, the more you're discounted. They have a kind of a sleek platform and interface. So, and I think they're also developing a private label line, which I would have to believe that is in the works for Amazon as well.
Yeah, I would assume so. And Amazon does have their own branded products, but in terms of fashion,
for fashion, even like household items, I think there's a lot of stuff that people could have on their kind of subscription list that would be Amazon private label.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to Amazon, they, let's face it, they solved the supply chain and logistics piece of their business over 10 years ago, right? That is kind of done and solved, and what they've been steadily and incrementally making progress on is this last mile to the house, right? So between the omnipresent white vans that show up that are obviously not part of any organized shipping company that we know about,
Right.
to their experimentation with drones. They're really trying to nail that last mile and reducing the amount of time it takes to get from distribution facility to consumers' hands. So even things like their lockers that they have in probably Kroger grocery stores, because I know they
Yeah.
have them in Safeway here on the West Coast. Um, that's where, if you think about it, if you're a grocery store in Australia, let's say, your best bet to beating Amazon is probably with the customers who live within a couple blocks of your store. So, if you really want to protect that business, you need to be looking at, I don't think you need to have a fleet of drones to drop groceries in people's backyards, but you do need to start to think about how you can reach them versus
Well,
having them come to you.
there is a real monopoly in Australia right now in terms of the grocery shopping experience. There's basically
Hmm.
two grocery stores that dominate everything there, and so they have the physical presence. It's not so partitioned out, and it would essentially be they would need to create some kind of a really simple and convenient way for customers to have to integrate technology into it, to have recurring items, to get things delivered, to shop very, very simply and efficiently. And then I think that a lot of people would remain loyal, at least at first. The question is, how long are you just kind of staving off the inevitable here?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
that's.
know,
Hmm.
what can these companies do to differentiate themselves if they're not going to beat Amazon in the logistics department? So it really is a matter of like what is their key selling point.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anybody that's cracked it yet, but if you have ideas or if your company is being affected by this, and I know we've said this after an Amazon episode in the past, but we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you've heard of happening with respect to Amazon and how companies are battling back to keep their customers. So thanks for watching. Find us in the comments, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.